Welcome back to another episode of the Kliché podcast. Today's theme, success doesn't happen overnight, is one that needs to be heard. We're talking about the journey, the setbacks, the sacrifices, and the late nights that nobody ever posts. Behind every title is a story, and today we got four powerful brothers to share. Joining us again is my line brother Dano Norceide, assistant athletic trainer and physical therapist for the Arizona Cardinals. Dane, it's always a blessing to have you back on. Next, we have Rashard Hammonds, assistant athletic trainer with the Minnesota Vikings and a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Glad to have you with us, brother. Holding it down in New York, we have Dillon Douglas, assistant athletic trainer and physical therapist for the New York Giants, also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Big respects on the work you're doing, Noob. And last but definitely not least, we have Tim Vidale, physical therapist for the Baltimore Ravens and the CEO and founder of Momentous Sports Medicine and a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Fellas, welcome. It's an honor to have you all here today. Now let's get into it. Today we're breaking down the truth behind the title. When people hear where y'all are now, they see the dream, but we're here to talk about the grind. So let's start from the beginning. Tell the audience your come up, where you from, and how you got into this field.
Like I said, Rashard Hammonds. I'm originally from West Palm Beach, Florida. Grew up in Riviera Beach, Florida. If you don't know where that's at, that's south in Florida. So, that's originally where I'm from. But when it comes to, kind of the story and stuff like that, right? Did my undergrad at University of Florida. That's kind of where, my grind started, right? That's what we're talking about. I also pledged that Theta Sigma Chapter Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated there as well. Shout out to the good brothers there, and that kind of propelled me to be in this setting. I always knew sports was my thing growing up, right? Since a youngin' in Riviera Beach, and I got sidelined from some health issues that kind of led me down a different route, right? Athletic training. So, this route just kind of stood out to me since high school, and I got honored to, be a part of a program at the University of Florida. I worked 2 football rotations, and specifically as it relates to the field that I'm in now. Then, kind of did a grad assistantship at Clemson University, where I worked under, 2 phenomenal leaders, Danny Poole and Pat Richards there, and then finally here I landed the seasonal and now assistant here at the Vikings, so my grind is kind of more in the shadows, not necessarily on paper, right? Kind of going through PWIs and making it, and trying to navigate more of social battles more than the quote unquote resume battle. But that's kind of a little bit about me. We'll dive a little bit more later about what actual struggles as it relates to mental health and all that good stuff. But that's kind of where I'm from and how I got to where I am now.
Man, no, it's a blessing to be here. I thank y'all for having me. So just a little bit about me. My name's Dillon Douglas, like you said. I'm on the medical staff for the New York Football Giants. But I grew up in a very, very small city in Jackson, Tennessee. So it's kind of surreal being in such a big city now, growing up in such a small part of Tennessee. Near Memphis, probably the biggest city around me. But I grew up, played sports, had a love and passion for being in sports, playing basketball, football, and found the profession of physical therapy and was like, man, this is something I'm interested in. But I also found a love for athletic training as well, having an athletic trainer on my varsity basketball team in high school. And I had to find a way where I could mesh these two fields together and find a love and a passion that I could really see myself doing for the next 20, 30 years. I stumbled across Middle Tennessee State University, where I did my undergraduate degree and crossed as a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Got a lot of clinical experience in athletic training, became certified, and I practiced as an athletic trainer for a year at a high school. But I was like, I want more. As a first-generation college student, I seen myself. I said, I think I want to get my doctorate. I need to get my doctorate in physical therapy. Let me keep moving the needle. Let's keep setting an example for my younger cousins and those around me and my family that necessarily hadn't left a small city like Jackson. So then I did my physical therapy degree at Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee. During this time, I gained even more clinical experience. I was fortunate enough to get internships with other NFL teams along the way, and I landed in New York. Never seen myself living up north, being from the South as a Southern guy, but no, it's been a joy, and I'm continuing to learn in each and every day, and I'm growing in my role there. So no, thank you for having me.
I appreciate that, Dillon.
And thank you for having me once again on your platform. Uh, from New York, I'm going to try to elevator pitch my intro and background because of respects to the first episode that we recorded on your platform. But my love for sports. Is definitely the true foundation of how I got to this platform. I guess you could say towards late high school and early college, definitely kind of like put away the aspirations of being a player at this higher level, and then mixed it with the passion of trying to figure out like my purpose and influential background with being Haitian American, Haitians parents wanting to see high expectations in regards to doctor, lawyer. So just kind of like similar to Dillon's story, you hear the doctorate of physical therapy. Add that on with a monumental movie I saw, Just Right, Queen Latifah and Common starring in that. I said, hey, helping an athlete at a higher level get back to the higher level is something that I wanted to do. So then now when you go like I said, fast pitching through the journey of internships, guidance, reaching out, one of my distant mentors, which he'll have his um, I can't even call him a distant mentor. He was a distant mentor at the time, and now he's a impactful mentor. Now he's also on this platform. Talking to him now, that kind of tunneled and guided it to me understanding. I bet like sports medicine is the route, but I went from coaching to volunteering. And you remember that we talked about those stuff in the first episode, but that and combination with my true passion of just one to be participant at sports at the highest level, then tunneled me to being a sports medicine clinician. And then as you open up with the rest, we'll go into kind of like other avenues that guided that.
Yeah, I guess I'm up. So, man, first I want to say thank you for having me on the call, man. I appreciate the invitation. It's an honor to do this with you guys, and just really an honor to hear all you guys' stories, man, because that's the lifeblood of our profession, man, and just you guys going through your own journeys and being able to leave crumbs and leave a path for everybody else coming behind you. So, kudos to all you guys, man. But my story, I'm from Youngstown, Ohio originally, man. Small city. There was a war zone there when I was growing up. There's a lot of talent, a lot of athletes that come out of that city. But, like myself, I was a four-sport athlete growing up, and I had aspirations just like every other young kid in the hood, man, to be a professional athlete. So my thought, though, was if for whatever reason I don't make it to the pros, that I got to do something that keeps me close to sports, because sports is my first love. And I say a lot of the time, man, sports saved my life. So I had to figure out what that was going to be. One day I was going to football practice, and there was a guy in there working with one of my teammates. So I walked over and I asked him, what are you doing? And he, started telling me about what he was doing. Turns out this guy was a physical therapist. So then I started digging in more about that. And like kind of right then and there, I was like, man, this is what I'm going to do. This is going to be my, my backup plan if I don't make it as a pro. And I pretty much stuck with that from that day, and followed the path going through school. And I went to FAMU undergrad, ran track at FAMU, and then went to Rutgers for my PT degree, and just kind of followed that path all the way through. I always knew I wanted to be in sports. I got my first major opportunity with the United States Olympic Committee. Was part of the a few Team USAs. Got to go to some World Championships and some games, and that kind of really set me up. My next opportunity after that was in Major League Baseball. I was part of the Minnesota Twins organization, so I did that for a while. And I ended up leaving that because at the time I had a young family. I had, my daughters were 4 and 1 at the time, and I was on the road all the time with the team and away from them. So I decided to walk away from pro baseball, come back home, be with my kids, my family. And that's when I started Momentous Sports Medicine. I started that company, with my own money in the back of a gym. And now we've grown to have 4 locations in 4 states, and that's been fun. To where then I was like, if I ever get back into pro sports, it got to be on my terms. Got to be something that works out for me. And as fate would happen, man, the Ravens gave me a call and said, hey, we want to talk to you about a position. And it lined up to where the position that I have works perfectly with me being able to run my company and still be around for my family. So, I'm going into my 4th season now with the Ravens, and, that's just kind of like high level what, kind of my path, but there was a lot of valleys on the way to where I am today. So, that's how I got here, and I'm sure we'll dig a little bit deeper into what that took.
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I want to give you all your flowers. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is Black excellence right now. In this call right now, we got the Divine Nine in here. I want to really target our community. Like, we come from these underserved communities, and what was mentioned here, a lot of us had those aspirations to get to be in the professionals, and it didn't work out like that. But I want to give the audience, our viewers, to understand there's always an alternate route if that doesn't work out, right? So, the theme, as I said today, is success doesn't happen overnight. Can you break down for the audience what they don't see behind, those licenses that you all were able to obtain?
Yeah, so if we're going from the youngest and less seasoned to the most, I'd take is, what they don't see, right? Just some of the obvious stuff, right? Long nights, right? Long early mornings, long nights type thing, right? Or the, like Tim mentioned, time away from family, right? I don't personally have kids, but that's a big burden, if you will, right? Other things, right? Like taking on other athletes, emotional problems and listening to them that day in and day out, and sometimes not being able to assist the family, right? Only just the athletes, right? So like some of those things weigh and put an extra toll on you as an individual, while doing this, and like we still have to show up every day, kind of with that smile and that same energy, and be buttoned up and perform at the highest level, right? All of us are working at the professional level, and they expect nothing less, right? Our interactions with them mean everything to them, right? But those are some of the ground things that they don't see, right? A lot of things is, right, I see, my coworkers more than I see my own fiance, right? See my own mother, right? Like these things are kind of like we really family in there, right? And people don't understand how much we have to lean on each other, and we essentially just strangers who kind of have to bond over this one goal, right? Or this one commonality of basically providing them the most elite care possible to these elite athletes, no matter what your medical model may think about. But those are some of the low hanging fruit that most people don't see, and as we work up the ladder here, you'll hear some other insights that I probably don't even see still myself, that they'll mention.
Yeah, I mean, to echo Rashard, I definitely agree, but I think I'll harp on the nose. You see that we got in our positions, but they don't see the rejection letters. They don't see the, no, you're not good enough, or I'm sorry, your application wasn't accepted, or you didn't get this job, or you didn't. I mean, I always tell people it only takes one yes, because, man, I've had hundreds of no's. Handling rejection is one thing that you have to be able to honestly be good at to get to where we've gotten. I know a lot of us have gotten a lot of no's, and I haven't been deterred once. I didn't think it was going to be easy. I've had adversity before. Everyone's had adversity in life, but how you handle it is really what defines you. So if I'm harp on anything, I will harp on the no's that I got. So it wasn't I applied to one job, I got that job, here I am. No. That's only the beginning. So I think the amount of no's that I've gotten to get here is what people don't see, and they don't think we can relate to. Because I know it's people that would love to be in our positions or similar positions, and if they could I just want to know that I echo your no. I've gotten a lot of those too. That's what I would harp on right there.
Preach, brother.
Um, I think one thing people don't see is the underlying patience or time it takes. So it just goes back to the cliche topic: success doesn't happen overnight. It just when we're at this platform and we get to the level, I guess you get to see it so much because we're in 2025, or fortunately you have games and different media platforms where you see us. So then now you just kind of forget, how long ago you was at this one position or before. So I'll give you an example. Like my first communication with Tim is 2018, 2019. So that's like me trying to get into residency or a route to get at this level. Now I'm at that level. My, you know, Besides the most recent time I seen Dillon, the time before that was Dillon giving me rides when I was at, University of Tennessee athletic training, and he wasn't finished with school and he was about to go to another school. You know what I mean? And then now, like my communication with Rashard, we talking about, let's get into it. Like we're at this level, but we all trying to climb to either where Tim's level's at. So me and him still like entry level, cracking the surface, and then boom, before you know it, God was speaking into existence, positivity, God's will. Like he's gonna be head man somewhere. I'm gonna be at a position where I want to be, and then before you know, but that was like 6-7 years ago, right? But it didn't happen overnight. So I don't think people see kind of like the patience, the maybes, all right, it's pipe dream. Like like remember I told you like I'm clicking this just to get into school, right? Like telling people like I'm gonna make it to the league. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try to get this contract with this, that, and the third. It seems like a pipe dream. So people don't see that the same way people don't also see the young kid saying like, yeah, no, I'm gonna be the next Ant Edwards, and then it happens. It didn't happen overnight. So yeah, I think people don't see that.
Yeah, man, I echo all of it, man. Because I've been through all of it, like the rejection, the failure, the patience, and the patience while doing the job. Like you might be doing like giving of your time freely because you got the vision for where you're trying to go, and you're just waiting your turn, but you're showing up to work every day. You're getting there at 5 a.m. You're doing all the grunt work just for you to get your shot. And people don't see that stuff, man. Like the failure is a big part of it. Dillon touched on like getting all these no's. Like every rejection letter I got from every school I applied to for college, I still have. Every rejection letter I got from grad school, I still have, because I know like that's what's going to fuel me. Like the people that told me like, yeah, I don't believe in you. Like you're not going to get this done. I still keep that as motivation. Before I got my first opportunity in the pros, I got told no at 7 different interviews before I got my first yes. People don't see that. Before, and even going back further, man, like I didn't pass my boards the first time out of PT school. I ain't passed it the second time. Like people will see me now and not even believe that. Like how is that even possible? But like there's a lot of failure and a lot of rejection that you see with successful people, man, because they have to go through that to be able to get to that next level. And people need to hear that, and people need to realize that everybody has their own journey. And as they go through their own trials, their own tribulations, their own peaks and valleys, that's their story. And everybody that they're looking up to, that somewhere that they want to be, is going through that same thing.
I'm glad everyone touched on, the failure and rejection portion, because that goes right into the next segment. I want to talk about the mental health aspect of this. So, can everyone just share the mental health journey you had to go through in order to, I mean, you have to accept the rejection and failure, right? Like you have to, Tim, you just mentioned that you accepted them. You still got those letters and you look back at them to just give you that fuel. So can you just touch on that mental health aspect you had to endure in order to accept those rejections and failures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll jump on first this time so we
yeah,
go the other way, man. Give you a break.
yeah, let's get it. Love it, love it.
Yeah. Now, the mental health piece is important, man, and it kind of is part and parcel with what we do as clinicians, because as we're rehabbing somebody from an injury, like they don't trust their body anymore, and we have to, as we're fixing their bodies, we're fixing their minds too. So a lot of what we're doing is that mental health for the patient, for the athlete. What that forces us to do is also be mindful of doing that for ourselves, because it took us so much to get to where we are to be able to even do this job for that person that we had to kind of build it in on the way. So what I do now is like kind of taking from the lessons along the way is I actually have a morning routine that I go through. So when I wake up in the morning, man, I meditate, I pray, I work out, and then I do affirmations, and then I read. And typically I'm reading something that is about mental toughness or about communication, different personalities, because those two things, mental toughness and communication, is what's going to help you navigate this world better than anything else. If you're able to communicate at a high level with anybody, then that's going to help decrease a lot of the negativity that you have coming your way, because you can understand people can understand you. And mental toughness for the people that don't understand you and people that don't believe in you and people that reject you, being able to still keep going. So that's something I feed myself every day, whether it's through reading an audio book, or different affirmations. That's just part of what I do now, and I use that and pour that into the people that I work with. And Dano can attest. Like I've had many of these conversations with him about this type of thing.
Nah, for sure. Without even kind of like copycatting what you said, what I did was I created illusions, imagery, and just more repetition until the illusions and imagery um, had some type of reality to it, and I still am creating some illusions and imagery. So to go back to what Tim was saying, like when we rehabbing somebody, there's some methods that even think of, all right, imagery, like let them see the opposite side that isn't affected so that they can remember that coming, what that looks like, or, just like close your eyes and envision. So like, bro, like I would literally write down, I will pass this test, failing tests all the time, knowing damn near I might not even have like a real shot at this, but just like convincing myself, oh, in my head, like 2016, 17, I'm imaging myself coming out the tunnel like the same way sometimes I posted on the gram or getting that flick. Like I had images of that when I had no shot of it, right? And just kept not giving up until it happened. So then now going into like just the example, so to close the loop, it's like the person that can't really do the one exercise, they start imagining themselves doing it. You know what I'm saying? They keep on doing it, and before you know it, they start doing it. And then once they get into that platform, it just starts feeling like everything's clicking. But start again obsessed with it, and just overly thinking about the one thing that you really want instead of, just folding to the circumstances, right? Like, so Tim, I was with you too. Like, I've failed boards. I thought I put too much on my plate. I had to convince myself and say, all right, no, it's not really going to matter. Then come to find out, then I didn't know you had the same kind of situation, and it really doesn't. And then now listening to podcasts, I was listening to podcasts while going through that, and now I'm able, to be on a platform giving podcasts. So I'm still doing the same thing, but those are some of the, I guess you say, coping mechanisms or mental things that I did along the journey while dealing with the nose and dealing with the pursuit.
Yeah, no, I think mental health is obviously a neglected topic for a lot of people, but especially for us as black men. And I'll even tell the story of, I think my biggest mental health battle was in school, in physical therapy school. I definitely grew up as someone that I had God-given gift of being really good at school. Failure in the classroom was not something I was used to. Passing a test or scoring high on an exam that's what I expected. It became second nature. So that first struggle of passing PT school put me in a headspace that wasn't healthy. And I, I I love to talk about that because I think a lot of people go through mental illnesses and not willing to get help. And I think my introduction to therapy was amazing. It I got to learn me. When you really like, you think you know yourself until you don't know yourself, and now you're thinking like, wait, this isn't who I thought I was. I didn't think I could think of being such a dark place and be able to struggle with myself and find out who I am and handle some of these ups and downs of life. Life happens, and I think being able to open up to a therapist, have good conversations, have affirmations, practice positive self-talk, things that sound so cliche and so easy to do, until it's you in that situation and you're in a space where you need help. And this is really in a climate where we see mental health illness in the world and ravaging our communities. I think this is just a shout out to therapy is fine, therapy is good, and you don't always go to therapy when something's wrong. Usually, a lot of times when the time to get help is not when you need it, it's before you need it. So shout out to my therapist that I used throughout school, and I even think therapy services is something I would love to do, whether it's every 2 weeks or once a month, just to talk to someone. Us as black men deal with a lot. We handle a lot. We shoulder a lot for our families, for our friends, for our people that we truly love. So shout out to therapy for helping me get over any mental health battles that I've had. And I know life happens and it's going to continue to happen. So shout out to therapy for men.
Yeah, so I mean, I take a different lens, but some of my mental health battles kind of started when I just got on the planet. You know what I'm saying? Dad upped and left from the get go, right? So I had to battle just what it meant to feel neglected from a little child, right? And then kind of getting into sport kind of helped me, right? Like all of us said, man, sports was our out, but then I had an older brother, and I was always hanging out in the older sports group, so I was getting left out of that, right? Because I wasn't big enough, I wasn't strong enough, or I wasn't fast enough until I earned that respect, right? But then fast forwarding this all the way to college when I got introduced to athletic training and into it, right? Like I said, I went to a PWI, so just not even having many folks, African American or minorities in general, at the ease of a glimpse was kind of like, dang, like who's also feeling my same struggle, right? Who can I go to? Who can I confide in? And it was a very small population at which I can do that, right? And luckily I did find my group, right? I did find my community in which I was able to, grow from that, right? Like Dillon said, he used a therapist. I just used at first I had to use the folks that I knew just to kind of vent, right? Like don't respond. I just got something on my mind. Let me hit you real quick, right? And just kind of seeing that even further, right? Clemson, obviously PWI, and now where I'm at, Minnesota's, so these battles I have of just kind of finding community and realizing like that is something that I have to face every day, right? Just to somebody to be on my same side who can see the same lens is tough, right? Granted, why I think I fit great on the staff, right? It's like, hey, most of your athletes right here on this football team, are African American or can resonate with me better than what you do, right? And I think I can connect with them right? So I kind of use that now as an advantage, right? Like, yeah, though I had that struggle, I can now relate to some of these folks, right? And now, like Tim was saying, right, like now I can better help treat the mind as I'm treating an injury, right? So treating the person rather than the injury, right, type deal. But man, like Dillon said, man, mental health is really a big help, man. Seek help, right? And for the super fans out there on Sundays that like to heckle, man, like open your eyes a little bit to this podcast because it's real, right? They're human too, and they going through some struggles that that little heckle that's going, maybe a racial slur or whatever, just ain't always worth it, right? But that's my 2 cents on that question right there, Coach.
I appreciate everyone sharing. I think it's very important that, they hear this side, because a lot of people are going through the same things right now, and they don't understand that these are some of the things, that other people face, and that's how they got to where they at today. So definitely appreciate everyone sharing that aspect. I'm gonna change it up a little bit. So I want to throw in another cliche topic into this same segment, because I feel like, you all did the school thing, and then you all got to this phase, right? The professional field where y'all at now in the NFL. But I want people to understand the other aspect about networking. So we all know the quote, it's not what you know, it's who you know. How important is that in this field as well?
And I think that even that quote is wrong, bro. And to answer your question, it's super important. But it's not, what you know is who you know, but it's really who knows you. Right? Because you could say you know whoever you want. But if, I say, hey, man, you know Rashard Hammonds? They're like, nah, I don't know him. Like, what good does that do him? So really you want for people to know who you are, because when those opportunities come up, you want for them to think of you and put your name up there and speak your name in rooms that you're not in, or call you up and give you that opportunity. Like, hey, man, I heard about this. Like, I think, you'd be good for this. Are you interested? Like, that's what you want out of the relationships, is who knows you. And the more that you can start to form meaningful relationships where people think of you, like, that's when you're really starting to get to pay dirt. And I think every one of us on this call probably got into the position that we got into because of somebody that we knew, or somebody that knew us.
Agree.
I totally agree with you, Tim. And I also think, the quote is super important. And one piece is, now once you do the networking, you kind of have to either navigate this on your own, or just continue to network and be able to have so many different type of platforms of networking, so that you can make you can decipher what I'm about to say next. Because you could know somebody, and then you have to understand, like, truly, what is that person going to do for you talking in the other room, or what type of advice that person is going to give, right? On this platform, if everything goes well, now you have people that may reach out to one of, four of us, five of us. Now, like, what type of information are you giving that person? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you just giving them kind of like the sugar coat of it? Are you giving them the reality of it? And then once you do make that meaningful connection, now the person that has, the higher platform, or, is segue to what you want. Now, are those people really, passionate about putting on the next person, right? And I know I'm stealing this from Tim because he just spoke when me, him, and Rashard were together at a conference. But if you're not really going to make it anywhere if you're not putting people on, and I think I remixed it so I didn't even have to, like, completely copy how he said it. But it's like, all right, bet I'm talking to somebody. I don't have all the time in the world, but I'm gonna give you the real reality of, what I'm saying, this so-called position that you want, as respectful, and as, what I'm saying, like, non-sugar coated way, based on how we met, because that's what I wanted when I was reaching out. Then now, once I make that meaningful connection, if there is something that I could put you on with, and you've, based on the conversation, based on the relationship, am I really putting you on? Like, I'm not saying this just to say this on this podcast. That's what I want. You see what I'm saying? So then now, if somebody's hollering at me, you know what I mean? Unless I'm trying to win this Oscar right now, like, that's what you're getting from me. But you have to be able to have all these different networks to be able to understand that. Because I don't knock the person that just giving you quick advice or whatever. That's still your network. But you also don't understand, like, that person ain't writing your letter of recommendation to join the Divine Nine. That person ain't, oh shoot, like, yeah, I got a call real quick. I'm hollering at him like, yo, Dillon, like, you need to take that. You need to take that opportunity. I'm telling you, because I wouldn't take it if I was in your shoes. You know what I'm saying? So that's what gets deeper once you start really networking. And the only way, I think, is keep networking, and then you decipher, find out communication, build on making that meaningful, and then you'll easily know, who's talking about you positively, what I'm saying, in rooms that you are in, or negative, and you see the consistent in the relationship too.
No, I think both of those are great takes on networking. I think what I've learned about networking is a couple things. One is who knows you, but why do they know you? Um, so I want people to know me, but what am I doing while I'm in a room that I don't even know that somebody's watching? What am I doing when nobody's watching, when they actually are? What am I doing on social media? What am I doing on different platforms? How am I presenting myself? Because networking can happen indirectly. We in the day and age of social media, people can find out who you are and you connect with them unintentionally. You can, whether you make a post about research that you're doing, or make a post about an award that you just got. People are interested in knowing more about you. So I think what people know you for, and the people that aren't watching, how they find you. I think that's really important. That I think it's always in our current generation, social media is so big. Everyone wants to, you want to let everyone know what you're doing, how you're doing it, but the image that you put out is huge. And then the other thing I've learned, just being genuine. I rather have 10 people that have my back in the career field in sports medicine, that really truly have my best interest, than to say I know 100 people. Give me 10 great relationships instead of 100. Minuscule. I know his name, he knows my name, but I know nothing about him. I mean, now since I've met Tim, and obviously he doesn't know it yet, but I'm gonna connect with him after the call. But it's huge to really form genuine relationships with people, and they know more about you than, oh, he does this. Actually, how many kids do you have? Like, where do you actually live? What's some of your interests? What do you do for fun? Genuine relationships go a lot further, and those your name's coming up in a lot of rooms when someone truly knows who you are as a person.
Yeah, man. The gentleman summed it up pretty good, man. And yes, networking is very, very fundamental and important, especially in this career that we are in. If it wasn't luck, it definitely was networking that got me where each step of the way that I got a good position. And I can throw all names out there of all my heads that knew somebody that put in for me, and I just interview well maybe, but that's besides the point. But these gentlemen, like I said, hit the nail right on the head, right? It's like, you want to be known from a genuine connection, right? Why do they why do they know me? Hopefully it's good, right? Or is it, if it's bad, you better figure out why it's bad and clean that story up. But you never know, right? Who knows me, right? There's a very, very well known head athletic trainer in the league that word on street, when it got back to me, put me in a running for a top SEC job after my seasonal year in the league, and all I did was had a 3-minute conversation with this guy while I was at Clemson, and never met him once I got to this level. Besides just knowing one of his mentees, so that's why I think it's very fundamental, and I actually gonna call him about it, but it's real, man, and like Dillon said, I really like that. I'd rather know 10 genuine folks than 100 people that just know who I am. And, if you know me, I'm all about connections, right? And I want to know your story, know your why, know what you're about, and that's the whole thing of networking, right? And like I said, that's exactly how I know the 3 gentlemen that are speaking so highly on this subject. Because of a networking type event, or networking just in general. So yeah.
Nah, I definitely appreciate that, fellas. So lastly, what is one piece of advice you'll give to someone trying to break into this field or just chasing their dreams in a career? Not all at once, please.
Yeah, I think we go youngest to oldest on this one.
Man, you put me in the fire. But yeah, I mean, my biggest thing, like I handle the students, so my biggest advice every time they come to me, whether it's at the end of it, in the semester eval or anything is honestly just stay true to yourself, right? Obviously, you're gonna learn, you're gonna get experience while you're here, but stay true to self and understand why you want to do this, right? You know, if this is something you truly want to do, right? You got to look inside before you start looking outside, and you know, that's the one piece of advice I always give them, right? When talking about a personal level, besides skill and all of that good stuff, because everybody wants a position, right? Everybody wants to be at this level, but you know, who really knows Rashard if I'm not being Rashard, right? You know what I'm saying? I can come in a button, you know, in my quarter zip every day, perked up, shirt tucked in every time. But if I'm not really genuinely being myself day in and day out, and then one day they say, "Dang, this dude, he acting crazy," but I'm like, "That's really me," then I just showed them somebody totally different than I wanted to be, right? So just stay true to self. You know, it's a thousand ways to break the barriers nowadays. I cracked the code one way, Tim cracked it another way, and same thing with Dillon and Dano. So I'm not gonna really speak on how to crack the code, but you know, stay genuine, stay true to self.
No, I think character is huge for Rashad, but I think I'll say for mine is your energy. The energy you walk into a room, and the first impressions that you make with people are the ones that they remember. So one thing I like to bring in every time I walk into a room is a smile. You know, there's a lot of negative things that go on, whether in the building, whether in life. You know, a smile can make someone's day. A positive energy that you can brighten up a room is something that people really gravitate towards. People gravitate towards positive energy. I want to be the battery that people connect to. I charge them up. They thrive off of my energy. So I think for anyone that truly wants to, whether it's a career in sports medicine or just a career in general, or just in life, bringing positive energy to a room that you walk in is going to take you a long way. Because you got if it's only a few kind of people in the room. Some people just exist. Some people take away the negative energy, but it's a few people that bring positive energy, and I think everybody wants those people in the right rooms. So the positive energy that you bring into a room can be contagious, and people really gravitate towards that.
Facts.
I think one piece would be consistent and persevere. Um, I'm gonna use an example piece of so if you stay consistent in being yourself, as Rashad mentioned, and you also stay consistent in keeping that character and having the energy. If you really want this, you're going to be able to achieve it. Um, I just look at myself, when I'm still trying to develop and I'm looking back in different chapters of my life or this journey, and I'm just being consistent on what I do. I'm adding a little bit, more defined tweaks, but I'm still, Dano in a sports environment, Dano pushing energy, working out, doing this, playing ball. I'm being consistent in myself, as Rashard said. So like, even though I'm climbing on these levels, like it's really not, it's not much because all the reps when I go back, studying for a test and now getting to this level and staying on top of research and caring about someone, coaching someone from a personal trainer aspect to a physical therapist to leading somebody, like reaching out. It's like just stay consistent in what you're doing. And then it goes to our first, episode and where we filmed this, like make sure your plan B gets you back to your plan A. You know what I mean? So if you really want this, just find out the things that you really need to do and be yourself at it and be consistent and see the track record.
Yeah, and I echo all of that, man. I got two things two pieces of advice. One, like Dano said, man, like don't take no for an answer. If it's something that you really want to do, like don't let anybody detract you. Don't let anybody discourage you. Like you stay focused on whatever it is. Don't take no for an answer and keep going. The other piece, talk your shit, man, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Like, and if you don't put yourself out there in the best light and what you bring to the table and the positivity that you bring and who you are, like nobody is going to do that for you. And I say it like that because like you got to be confident in that. You got to be confident in who you are and what you bring. So like, I say that a lot to people that I mentor, like, talk your shit, because like it's important for you to do that. And like those two things I think will take you really far, because if you continue to keep your engine going, like nothing can stop you.
Nah, definitely appreciate that. Man, what a conversation. I just want to take a moment to thank each of you, Dano, Rashard, Dillon, and Tim, for getting to this level, right? And being able to give our audience the gems that you dropped today, and being transparent and real. That's always the most important thing, right? And it's definitely what, our culture needs. You know what I mean? So to our listeners, if you take anything from today, let it be this: success is a process, and it's not instant. Until next time, let's keep going, let's keep growing, and let's keep showing up. The Kliché Podcast.